The mid-north coast of New South Wales is full of idyllic hinterland valleys. Elizabeth Rowley lives with her family on 18 acres outside of Hannam Vale, a tiny village on the Stewarts River, 40 kilometres northwest of Taree. This is not just the normal maintenance needed for a lifestyle block. Keeping her lawn short is a key defence against a tiny insect whose bite has caused years of illness.
I contracted it, 12 years ago, but wasn't diagnosed for another 4 years after that. I just felt sick all the time. Your stomach felt like you wanted to throw up. Very foggy. I used to explain it like I felt like I was as drunk as 1,000 men, but I had all their hangovers all at once at the same time.
A tick bite led to Elizabeth developing mammalian meat allergy, an allergy to meat from a mammal. Think cattle, pigs, sheep, and any product that comes from them. But it took her years to work out what was happening.
I had been to allergists and they just said, no, got no idea, you have to find out what's going on yourself. I'd stopped dairy, I stopped eating seafood, gluten, all of the things you kind of know about, but nothing made any difference.
Simple things like attending a barbecue and inhaling meat fumes or patting the family dog can have severe consequences.
I don't wash my hands straight away after patting them. After about 4 hours, I just don't lick. I just really ache and feel a bit chesty, like you can't breathe. Great, especially if they lick. Don't be naughty.
Mammalian meat allergy was discovered in 2007 by Australian allergy specialist Professor Cheryl Van Noonen.
Milder systemic reaction would be generalised welts or urticaria, ranging through to involvement of closure of your throat, breathing difficulty, impending loss of consciousness and passing out and needing resuscitation. And even, unfortunately, it can be lethal in a very tiny minority of people. Well, of course, mammalian meat allergy can be provoked by tick bite.
She's now one of the world's leading experts, helping people adjust their whole lives to avoid any product that comes from a mammal.
The mammalian allergen is in a number of medical products. For example, there's an anti-cancer drug, which is a magic bullet for people with colon cancer and head and neck cancer. But unfortunately, injected intravenously, this can be a life-threatening experience having their treatment.
New flu vaccines, snake antivenom, even Ventolin for asthma sufferers can all contain mammal products and cause life-threatening reactions for people suffering mammalian meat allergy. At Elizabeth Rowley's home, chooks and guinea fowl are allies. The birds dine on ticks, keeping everyone else safer from them. Yeah,
at the moment they're just learning, I suppose, like to scratch around and stuff, just same as the chooks will. And then, eventually they'll realise that their main meal is normally ticks and bugs and things like that.
Since being diagnosed with mammalian meat allergy, Elizabeth has started a Facebook group to support other people struggling with their health issues and adjusting to a new lifestyle.
To be able to help people in Australia find safe medications and just to help them generally find out what's going on.
The number of people joining continues to grow. In the nearby Nambucca Valley, Joanna Becker spent years trying to work out what was going on with her health.
I discovered that I had it entirely by accident by a friend who was eating a meat pie, and he noticed me trying not to vomit, and he laughed and said, "Jo, do you have meat allergy?" And I said, "What's that?" Hey girls! For the meat allergy, like red meat, it was more borderline anaphylaxis with huge adrenaline surges and the vomiting and the convulsing and my head spinning with vertigo and total disorientation and a feeling like I was going to die, a real impending sense of doom. Right, girl, let's check you over.
Joanna says her property is covered in ticks, which she routinely has to take off her animals. When she does that, she's putting her own health on the line. If she's bitten, she would suffer significantly.
We didn't have ticks noticeable on our property at all in the first 5 years that we were here. Didn't see them at all. And in the last 2 years, with the La Nina and the rain event, our life just became obsessed with finding them because we were finding them on all the animals.
Everyone in her family has had to change their lives because of her allergy. Crucial to that is the family veggie patch, which gives them control over exactly what they're eating and what goes into it.
You'd think having meat allergy I'd be only allergic to meat, but it would actually also be vegetables that have been grown in meat compost, like, say, blood and bone. Got you some basil?
The changes for Joanna and her family have been huge. She quit her job because of her illness and now avoids most social engagements.
Because of this allergy and because of this health situation, I really woke up. So I was living a very normal city life previously, and I wasn't very aware of what I was eating. So because I became sick, I had to learn how to become healthy, and it became a passion.
But for the last few years, one thought has been lurking in the back of Joanna's mind.
We've never had as many ticks here. We've never seen this many. And it's not just our farm, it's everywhere in this valley.
With historic buildings, renowned restaurants and access to national parks, nearby Bellingen is a popular tourist destination. Dr. Trevor Cheney has worked in Bellingen for 22 years as a GP and has seen a rise in mammalian meat allergy.
Certainly there is an increase in presentations, and what I can't say for sure is whether that's an increase in the frequency or it's actually, now that we're more aware, we're actually finding people who were previously sick for unknown reasons and we're identifying them. Okay, so
He thinks it's possible people could have been suffering from mammalian meat allergy for years and not known what they had.
some people present with anaphylaxis, which is the severe life-threatening form of allergy. And again, it's not necessarily time-related to the exposure.
Okay.
One of Dr. Cheney's patients has had mammalian meat allergy for most of her short life.
I was 3 years old when I was diagnosed with mammalian meat allergy.
10-year-old Stella Price loves nothing more than riding her horse Bodhi on her family's property 15 minutes drive from town.
He's a miniature horse and he's a chestnut coloured.
Stella has to be careful not to get bitten by a tick when she's outdoors, but eating the wrong meal could also make her seriously sick.
I break out in hives, I get all itchy, and then I start to get red, and then I turn into a tomato I look really red and like a tomato the next day.
What does that feel like?
It feels very uncomfortable, and I don't really like the feeling because I feel sore, I don't really want to move very much.
It makes life hard for a 10-year-old kid.
If it's the first time for a play date, Mum normally just says, these are the things she can't have, these are the things she can have. And if it's a sleepover, Mum just says, I sometimes have dinner before I go, but if it's through the day, Mum just gives them a list of what I can and can't have through the day.
It's not just Bellingen where the tick that causes mammalian meat allergy is found, but it thrives in climates like this. And with more people moving into its habitat, it's no coincidence that more people are contracting it. This is the tick which can cause so much harm.
So the paralysis tick, which is often called the Australian paralysis tick, Ixodes holocyclus, occurs along the east coast of Australia, from Melbourne all the way up to Cape York.
Stephen Doggett is the Director of Medical Entomology for New South Wales Health.
The Australian paralysis tick needs animals, but it also needs fairly humid environments to actually survive. And so areas like the Bellingen Valley, which is quite green and it's quite moist, tends to be highly conducive to this particular species.
How many ticks are in the bush depends on weather systems. The tick which causes mammalian meat allergy thrives in wet weather. After 3 extremely wet summers in a row, experts and sufferers alike are concerned about how many more people might now be bitten.
So we've seen 3 La Nina seasons, and typically these are associated with above average rainfall conditions. And ticks just love these conditions. They're really susceptible to dry weather. And when we get a lot of wet weather, the population builds up. And this is often where we see the biggest numbers.
It's going to mean we're going to see a lot more of people getting a lot more tick bites, and some of those people will develop this allergy.
But it's not just about the weather. The experts say the rise in cases is linked to fewer foxes since widespread baiting programs began. Foxes eat native animals that carry and spread ticks. With more ticks likely to emerge this season and more people attracted to a hinterland lifestyle, the experts say how people react when they find a tick can make a huge difference.
Don't scratch anything you can't see. Don't disturb a tick because she'll squirt allergen into you. Kill the tick where it is so that she can't squirt allergen into you, and let it drop off because most people are hopeless at removing ticks. Or take yourself off to a health professional who has very fine tip forceps and can do this in an expert fashion.
While contracting mammalian meat allergy will mean a huge lifestyle change, there is hope for sufferers.
It's a serious allergy. It has long-term consequences. It can be reduced if you just take the precautions and don't get more tick bites. It can be managed, and the good news story is lots and lots of people grow out of it, if they do it well. So it needs to be recognised and it needs to be managed well, and at the end of the tunnel, there's a good news story.
I want that to happen. I'm hoping it will eventually happen as I grow older. But right now it's been like 8 years or so since I was diagnosed. So I think I still have a few more years to go until I might grow out of it. But I might not, and I'm okay with that.